The whole village stood still. Everyone had come out in their best clothes to witness Hilda's traditional wedding. The drums had been beating, the women had been dancing, and the children had been playing happily. Everything was perfect until Mark showed up. People couldn't believe their eyes when Mark walked into the middle of the event and went down on one knee. He pulled out a ring and said, "Marry me, Hilda." Gasps filled the air. "Ugh. Is this a movie?" One woman whispered. "Didn't he tell her to marry someone else?" Another asked in shock. After ghosting her for years, Samuel stood there, heartbroken, watching the woman he had loved and waited for run into another man's arms. He blinked quickly, fighting back tears. As Mark knelt, still holding the ring, Hilda stood frozen. She hadn't accepted the ring. Her eyes were wide, her hands shaking. Samuel couldn't take it anymore. He walked up to them. Everyone watched closely. He reached for Hilda's hand and held it gently. His voice was low but shaky. "Hilda, please, don't do this," Samuel said. "Don't accept his proposal. I have been here for you. I love you. I've treated you with respect. He left you. He told you to move on. Why now?" But Hilda didn't say yes or no. Her heart was heavy, her mind spinning. The only words she managed to say were, "Mark, why now? Where have you been all this while? Why have you decided to ruin my big day?" Everyone waited for Mark's reply, but Mark didn't say anything meaningful. He just smiled, a strange smile. It was the kind of smile that confused people, the kind that made you wonder if something was wrong. Hilda was pouring out her pain, and Mark stood there smiling. People began to whisper, "He doesn't love her. Look at his face. This is wickedness. He just came to scatter her joy." Even some of the village elders were upset. One elder stood and said, "This is not right. This boy has no respect." He turned to some young men nearby. "Remove him from this place." The boys began to move toward Mark, but before they could reach him, Hilda suddenly let out a loud, painful cry. "My wedding has been cancelled." The crowd shouted in disbelief. "What? No!" She dropped the wine glass in her hand and turned around. Without another word, she started running out of the venue. Samuel ran after her, calling her name. "Hilda, please wait. Don't go like this. Talk to me." But Hilda didn't stop. Behind them, Mark was still standing there, still smiling. Then he started laughing. Not a joyful laugh. A strange, empty laugh that made some people shake their heads. "Something is wrong with him," someone whispered. "This boy is not normal. This must be spiritual," another added. Hilda's mother, who had been sitting with the elders, suddenly stood up and shouted, "My enemies have succeeded. They have scattered my daughter's marriage." She began to cry loudly as some women rushed to hold her and comfort her. "Take heart, Mama Hilda. Don't cry. God knows best." But Hilda's mother was not calming down. She was heartbroken. One by one, the villagers started leaving the wedding venue. Some shook their heads in pity. Others just wanted to carry the gist to their neighbors. It didn't take long before the rumors spread like wildfire. People were already saying things like, "Did you hear what happened at Hilda's wedding? That boy, Mark, just came from nowhere and ruined everything." Some people even say he's a spiritual husband. Oh, Hilda ran all the way home, her heart beating fast like a drum. She didn't care who was watching her. Her fine traditional wedding dress was now dusty, and her feet were bare. But she didn't stop until she got to their compound. As soon as she entered the house, she slammed the door and locked it behind her. Her breathing was heavy, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Samuel ran after her. Not long after, Samuel reached the house too. He stood in front of the locked door and gently knocked. "Hilda, please open the door," he said in a calm voice. "Let's talk, please." Inside the room, Hilda sat on the bed and hugged her pillow. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to see anyone. "Samuel, please go," she said softly, but her voice was full of pain. "Leave me alone." But Samuel didn't go. He remained there, still knocking softly. "Hilda, please trust me," he begged. "Just open the door. Let me say something. I deserve to talk to you." Hilda closed her eyes, thinking for a moment. Then slowly, she stood up and opened the door. Samuel stepped in. His face was tired, his clothes dusty, and his eyes sad. but he still looked at her with love and care. He gently held her hand. "Hilda," he said softly, "I understand. I really do. I know Mark was your first love. I know he was everything to you." Hilda looked down, not saying a word. "But what I don't understand," Samuel continued, "is why you called off our wedding, after everything we prepared for, after everything we spent." His voice cracked a little. "You know how hard the economy is," he said. "I borrowed money to buy most of the drinks, food. Why now? Why cancel everything just like that?" Hilda looked at him with teary eyes. Her voice was low but firm. "Samuel, I'm sorry," she said, "but this is not the right time for this talk. My mind is not stable, and I don't want to sound rude to you. I promise we will talk about everything, just not today." She gently pulled her hand away from his and stepped back. "Please," she whispered, "leave me alone for now." Samuel sighed. He didn't know what else to say. He looked at her for a few seconds, then slowly walked out. Outside the compound, he saw Hilda's mother sitting on a bench, crying. Her hands covered her face as some neighbors tried to comfort her. Samuel bowed slightly in respect and continued on his way. As he walked home, deep in thought, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned and there was Mark. Mark stood there, smiling as usual. But it was not a kind smile. It was strange, like someone who was hiding something. Samuel froze. Mark stared at him without blinking, then said, "Let the person with more money and more doings win." Then, without saying anything else, Mark gave that same strange smile again and walked away. Hilda watched him leave, feeling a cold chill in his body. "This is not normal," he said quietly to himself. "Something is not right with that boy." Back at home, Hilda was still sitting quietly when her mother walked into the room. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was soft and loving. "My daughter," she said, sitting beside her, "I want you to know that I support you in whatever choice you make." Hilda looked at her mother with surprise. "Yes, my child," her mother continued, "you're the one who will live with the man, not me. Whether it is Samuel or Mark, I want you to be happy." She held Hilda's hand tightly. "But my daughter," she said gently, "please, be wise. Don't put me to shame. Don't let your emotions carry you away. Think carefully. Open your eyes." Hilda nodded slowly, still not sure what to do. Her heart was confused. Her past and future were standing side by side and she didn't know which one to follow. Days passed, then weeks, but Hilda couldn't bring herself to open her shop. She stayed indoors, crying most of the time. Her heart was broken, her thoughts confused. Everything she had planned for her life had scattered like sand. Every morning, she would sit by the window, staring at nothing. Sometimes she didn't even eat. Her mother tried to talk to her, but Hilda didn't feel like talking. She was stuck in her own world of pain. Mark, on the other hand, kept showing up at her compound. He would walk in confidently and call her name. "Hilda, come out. I'm back. Don't marry anyone else. I'm ready to marry you now." At first, Hilda ignored him, but slowly, his words began to work on her heart again. She remembered how much she had loved him before everything went wrong. Little by little, she started believing him again. She stopped answering Samuel's messages. She stopped talking to him. The love of her life, Mark, was back and she wanted to believe he had truly changed. One morning, Hilda woke up before the sun rose. She felt like doing something special for Mark. She remembered how he used to love her cooking. "I'll make him his favorite," she whispered to herself. She entered the kitchen and cooked a delicious meal: white rice with thick tomato stew and fried plantain. The aroma filled the house. After bathing and dressing quietly, she packed the food carefully into a warm flask. She didn't want anyone to see her, so she left very early and walked quickly to Mark's house. But when she got there, something strange happened. Mark was standing outside, wearing only a boxer. He was smiling widely like someone who just heard a funny joke. His mother and siblings were standing at the door, watching him with worried faces. Hilda was shocked. "What is going on here?" she asked, looking around. Nobody answered. She looked at Mark's mother. The woman looked away. His siblings just stood there in silence. Hilda was confused and angry. She walked straight to Mark and held his arm. "Come inside," she said firmly, dragging him to his room. Inside, she shut the door and faced him. "Mark, What's happening? Why are you outside like that? Mark blinked and seemed to come back to his senses. He looked at the food in Hilda's hand. You cooked for me? He asked with a big smile. I've missed your food. He sat down and started eating quickly. But then, out of nowhere, he burst into laughter. Hilda stared at him. What's funny? She asked. He laughed more, then stopped and looked serious. Hilda, he said slowly. Do you know my brother is dead? Hilda gasped. What? Yes, Mark said. He was killed. I haven't told anyone, not even my mother. He dropped his spoon and sighed. He's the one that introduced me to the drug business, and I became addicted. I can smoke from morning till night non-stop. He taught me everything. Now, I can't stop. I try, but I can't. Sometimes I feel like I'm going mad. I talk to myself. I hear voices. This morning, I didn't even know my family was standing outside. Hilda felt cold. Her hands shook a little. Mark, are you okay? She asked carefully. He said nothing. He kept eating like everything was fine. When he finished eating, he stood up and smiled again. Thank you, Hilda. That food was sweet. Then, he started laughing again. But this time, the laughter was strange. It didn't sound normal. It was loud, wild, and scary. Hilda slowly stood up, fear rising in her heart. Mark, she said quietly, are you sure you're not mad? As soon as she said that, Mark's face changed. He became angry. His smile disappeared, and he rushed toward her. He held her arm tightly, shouting, don't ever say that again. I'm not mad. You hear me? Hilda tried to pull away, but he wouldn't let go. Mark, you're hurting me. Let me go, she cried. Just then, his siblings burst into the room. They saw how he was holding Hilda and quickly pulled him away. Mark let go, then suddenly started laughing again. He began saying strange things that made no sense. I will fly to the moon today. Who took my red shoes? I am the king of Enugu, ha ha ha. Hilda stood in the corner, shaking. Tears rolled down her cheeks. This was not the Mark she used to know. This was someone else. After what happened at Mark's house, Hilda walked back to her home with shaky legs. Her heart felt like it was breaking all over again. When she reached the compound, she opened the door slowly, entered her room, and sat on the bed. Then she broke down in tears. Her mother heard her and rushed in. Hilda, my daughter, what is it again? She asked, sitting beside her. Hilda wiped her eyes, but the tears kept coming. Mama, Mark is mad, she said in a weak voice. He doesn't act like a normal person anymore. He talks to himself. He laughs when nothing is funny. And he even raised his hands to hit me. Her mother gasped. What? He did what? Yes. Hilda nodded. More tears falling. I didn't even know how I escaped. He held me so tight. If not for his siblings, I don't know what he would have done to me. Her mother shook her head, angry and sad at the same time. Why is life treating me like this, Mama? Hilda cried. I gave this boy everything. I waited for him. I believed in him. Hilda, stop crying, Mama said, pulling her close. Tears won't solve this. That boy is not well. If he is truly mad, why did he come to ruin your wedding? Why? Hilda looked at her mother, not knowing what to say. That boy has never loved you, Mama continued, her voice rising a little. He wants to see you sad. He wants to see you suffer. And if he ever tries to lay his hands on you again, I will not take it lightly. I swear I won't. She stood up and folded her arms. The whole village is talking about you. Everybody knows how much you sacrificed for that boy. You gave him basically everything. Your time, your love. You even refused good men because of him. And this is how he repays you. Hilda looked down, her heart heavy. If he wasn't mad, he wouldn't have come back to destroy your happiness. Mama added, shaking her head, that boy is lost. Hilda nodded slowly. She knew her mother was right. Deep down, she had seen the signs. Mark was no longer the boy she loved. He was not safe. I will cut ties with him, Hilda whispered. I won't go near him again. And truly, that was the last day she ever visited Mark. Weeks passed. Hilda tried to pick up her life again. One morning, she dressed up and decided to open her shop again. It had been months since she last went there. As she walked along the road, she heard voices behind her. Look, That's the lady who wanted to marry a madman, someone whispered. Another voice said, she's been with him even before he ran mad. They say love is blind. Hilda didn't turn. She didn't say a word. She just kept walking. Her heart was heavy, but she held her head up high. When she got to the market, she opened her shop and stepped inside. The whole place was dusty. The shelves were dirty. Her goods were scattered. She sighed deeply. It's time to start again, she said to herself. She began cleaning, sweeping the floor, wiping the tables, and arranging the clothes neatly. Some of her friends in the market came to see her. Hilda, welcome back, one of them said. We missed you, another added. Some gave her hugs. Others gave her advice. Don't let what happened stop your life, one woman said. You're strong, Hilda. After that day's sales, she closed the shop and began walking home. The evening breeze was cool and the road was quiet. But as she turned a corner, she heard noise. Children were screaming and running. Then she saw him. Mark. He was chasing the kids, laughing and clapping. His shirt was torn. His hair was rough, and his face looked wild. He danced in the middle of the road, jumping and shouting. Hilda stood quietly, her heart breaking again. When Mark saw her, he stopped for a second, stared at her but didn't recognize her. Then he laughed and continued running after the children. Hilda's eyes filled with tears. My Mark is now a madman, she whispered. She looked away quickly and walked home. There was nothing she could do anymore. He ruined his life. Because of drugs, she said softly. And his brother is to blame. When Hilda got home that day, she dropped her bag on the bed and sat down slowly. Her heart was heavy, and her eyes were tired. She thought about everything that had happened in the last few months, the broken wedding, Mark's madness, and the shame in the village. She stared at the wall and whispered to herself, I can't go back to Samuel after publicly embarrassing him. He must hate me now. I broke his heart in front of the whole village. She sighed and looked at her hands. If I had known, I wouldn't have canceled my wedding. Everything was ready. People were happy. Mama was proud. But I destroyed everything because of Mark. Tears welled up in her eyes. Who will even want to marry me now? After all this drama? Who? My image has been tarnished. She was still lost in her thoughts when her phone began to ring. She looked at the screen and couldn't believe her eyes. It was Samuel. Her heart skipped a beat. She picked up the call. Samuel. There was a pause. Where have you been? She asked again, her voice shaky. You just vanished into the thin air, and I'm sorry for everything. But Samuel didn't say anything for a moment. He just breathed. Then he said in a calm voice, Hilda, I'll come and see you tomorrow. That was all he said before the line went dead. Hilda held her phone tightly and sat there thinking, why now? What does he want to say? Has he forgiven me? The next day, Hilda went to her shop early. She arranged some baby clothes and hung new ones on the wall. Her heart was beating fast and she don't know why. She kept looking at the door waiting. Then, she saw him. Samuel walked into her shop slowly. Before she could say anything, he walked straight to her and hugged her tightly. Hilda froze for a moment. Samuel was not someone who liked to show emotions, especially in public. But this hug, it felt real. It felt warm. And she loved it. But she knew he won't take her back. So there's no point expressing herself. I've missed you, Hilda, he said quietly. She pulled back and looked at him in disbelief. Samuel, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was confused. Everything happened so fast. But before she could finish, he interrupted her. I forgive you, Hilda. Truly. It's all in the past now. Hilda's eyes filled with tears. Samuel smiled. I still love you. I can't wait to make you my wife. You're still the woman I prayed for. She didn't know what to say. She just nodded, her heart soft and warm. Then he added, as for Mark, there's nothing anyone can do now. He's mad. His case is beyond help. That sentence made Hilda's heart break a little. She looked away and didn't respond. Even if she had moved on, it still hurt to hear it out loud. After closing the shop that evening, Hilda rushed home to tell her mother the good news. Mama, Samuel came to see me today, she said with a big smile. He forgave me, and he still wants to marry me. Her mother looked at her daughter with a soft smile. That's good news, my child. I'm happy for you. But please, be careful. Be careful? Hilda asked, surprised. Yes, Mama replied. If I were you, I would cut ties with even Samuel and start a new life. After everything you've been through, you need time to heal fully. Hilda nodded slowly. Her mother's words always made sense. But in the days that followed, Hilda and Samuel became close again, and he made her genuinely happy. They were always together. People in the village began to whisper again, but this time, in a good way. Sometimes Hilda would spend the night at Samuel's house. They would cook together, laugh, and talk about their future. Her mother saw what was happening, but she said nothing. Hilda has been through a lot, Mama said to herself one night. She deserves to feel love again. I just hope life becomes better for her. Hilda and Samuel became very close. It was as if they were glued together. Wherever you saw Hilda, Samuel wasn't far away. And whenever Samuel was free, he would go to Hilda's shop, sometimes with small gifts, sometimes with money. Buy something sweet for yourself, he would say, placing money gently into her hand. Even though he knew Hilda is doing well for herself, Hilda's eyes would light up. Thank you, Samuel. She was happy, truly happy. She would cook delicious food for Samuel and send it to him at work. On weekends, he would visit her house and eat with her. They even laughed together like a real couple. Sometimes they would sit under the mango tree in front of the compound, chatting for hours. Finally, she whispered, one day God has remembered me. But then, something strange happened. One morning, Hilda woke up and realized she hadn't seen her monthly period. At first, she said nothing. She thought it was stress. Maybe it's because I've been working too hard, she told herself. But after waiting and her period still didn't come, she became worried. She went to the nearest clinic to do a pregnancy test. When the nurse came out with the result, she smiled and said, "Congratulations, you are pregnant." Hilda froze. Pregnant? She repeated, her voice shaking. Yes, the nurse said kindly, you're going to have a baby. Hilda thanked her and slowly walked out of the clinic. Her legs were shaking. She didn't know if she should be happy or scared. She reached her shop and sat down, still holding the test result in her hand. Then she picked up her phone and called Samuel. Samuel, she said quickly, please come to my shop now. It's urgent. Samuel heard the seriousness in her voice and came quickly. When he got there, he saw her looking worried. What happened? He asked. Hilda took a deep breath. Samuel, I'm pregnant. Samuel stared at her. His mouth opened a little. Then he smiled. A big smile. You are what? He asked again. Just to be sure. I'm pregnant, she repeated. Suddenly, Samuel clapped his hands and laughed. You've made me proud, Hilda. You've made me so happy. Hilda was surprised. Are you sure you're not just pretending? No, my love, Samuel said, holding her hands. I mean it. I'm very happy. Just do me one favor. What? She asked. Please give birth to a boy, he said playfully. Hilda laughed. Please, are you even sure you'll marry me? Yes, I will marry you, Samuel said quickly. Please, keep the pregnancy, my love. Don't even think about removing it. Hilda felt a mix of joy and relief. Later that evening, she went home and told her mother, Mama, I'm pregnant. Her mother looked at her, surprised. She didn't speak for a while. Then she asked, Have you told anyone else? Hilda nodded. Yes, I told Samuel. He was very happy. But Mama's face didn't brighten. You should have told me first, she said softly. I'm your mother. Hilda looked down. I'm sorry, Mama. It's all right, her mother said. But now, tell him to bring his people to come and see us. We can't just let this matter hang in the air. Hilda nodded. A few days later, Samuel came with his family members. They wore fine clothes and brought drinks and gifts. Hilda's family welcomed them warmly and set up chairs in the compound. Everyone sat down, and greetings were exchanged. Then one of the elders from Samuel's side cleared his throat and said, We are here to ask for Hilda's hand in marriage for our son, Samuel. Hilda's father nodded. "We thank you for coming, but according to our tradition, we cannot collect bride price for a woman who is already pregnant." The air became quiet. The elder nodded respectfully. "We understand. That's how it is done in a well-cultured community," another elder added. "We will wait until she gives birth," Hilda's uncle continued. "Then you can come back and do the needful." Everyone agreed. They all smiled, and food was shared. It was a peaceful meeting. Hilda sat quietly, rubbing her small belly. She still had mixed feelings, but deep down, she hoped things would finally turn out well for her. Months passed, and Hilda's belly grew bigger and bigger. Her pregnancy journey wasn't easy at all. Some days, her back hurt so much she couldn't stand for long. Other days, she couldn't sleep well at night. She felt tired often, but she still tried her best to stay strong. Even with her big belly, Hilda still went to her shop every morning. "Why are you still going to the market?" her mother asked one day. "You should rest. You're carrying a baby." But Hilda smiled and shook her head. "Mama, I don't want to become a burden. I still have my hands and legs. I can work." So, every day, she would sweep her shop slowly, open her door, and sit down to sell baby clothes and other small items. Customers still came to buy from her, and many of them stayed just to talk with her and keep her company. "God bless you, Hilda," one woman said. "You are strong. Don't listen to gossip," another told her. "Some people may talk, but many of us respect you." Even though a few villagers gossiped about her pregnancy and said bad things behind her back, Hilda didn't pay attention. She focused on her baby and her business. Samuel, her fiancé, was now traveling often. He had started driving his bus to far villages to carry passengers and make more money. Sometimes, if it was too late to return home, he would sleep over in one of those towns instead of driving at night. "I don't want to risk my life," he told Hilda on the phone one night. "I want to be here for you and our baby." Hilda smiled and replied, "Thank you, Samuel. I understand. Just be safe." Even though she missed him, she thanked God for everything. "He may not be here every day," she told her mother, "but he's working hard for us." Hilda's mother nodded proudly. "God will bless him. And you too, my daughter." Finally, after 9 long months, the day came. Very early in the morning, Hilda started feeling sharp pains in her stomach. She called her mother, who quickly got everything ready. The village midwife was called, and some women came to help. Hilda held onto her mother's hand and cried softly. "Mama, it hurts." "I know, my daughter," Mama said, "but you're strong. You can do this." After hours of pushing and crying, a beautiful cry filled the room. "It's a girl!" the midwife shouted happily. Hilda laid back, tired but smiling. She couldn't stop staring at the tiny baby in her arms. "She's beautiful," Hilda whispered. When Samuel heard the news, he rushed back from the town he was working in. He entered the room and saw Hilda holding the baby. He smiled and said, "Thank you, Hilda. You've made me a father." He looked at the baby, but then frowned a little. "I was really hoping for a boy," he said, "but it's okay." Hilda didn't say anything. She just smiled and looked at her baby. She didn't want anything to spoil her joy. The room was filled with visitors, neighbors, family, and friends bringing gifts and saying congratulations. But the happiest person in the room was Hilda's mother. She danced from one corner to the other, singing and clapping her hands. "Thank you, God. My daughter has delivered safely. Thank you for this beautiful baby." After 7 days, they organized the baby's naming ceremony. Friends and family came together again, bringing gifts, drinks, and food. The baby was dressed in a pretty pink dress and placed on a soft mat. "What will we name her?" someone asked. Hilda smiled as she held her baby close. "Her name is Amara," she said. The crowd clapped and cheered. "Amara, it means grace," Mama added. And truly, this child is a blessing. One quiet morning, Hilda was inside the house feeding her baby when her mother walked in. "Hilda," Mama called softly, "come to the sitting room. I want to talk to you." Hilda came out, carrying little Amara, who was now smiling and making soft baby sounds. Mama sat down and looked at her daughter. "You've given birth already, and your child have started crawling," she said. "It's time." Tell Samuel to bring his people for your proper marriage rites. Hilda looked down. Mama, I don't want a big wedding again. I just want something small. No crowd. Just family and a few friends. Her mother nodded. As long as the important people are there and everything is done right, that's okay. Later that evening, Hilda called Samuel and told him what her mother had said. Samuel agreed and sent her money for the preparations. Use this and start planning, he said over the phone. I'll join you soon with my people. Hilda felt happy and hopeful. She told her mother, and Mama invited the elders and some family members to come and witness the prize ceremony. Amara was now growing fast. Her eyes sparkled, and she smiled a lot. Everyone in the village loved her. She looks just like her mother, people would say. So beautiful. Finally, the wedding day arrived. Hilda wore a simple but beautiful traditional outfit. Her hair was neatly done, and her face glowed with joy and a little nervousness. Guests started arriving. They sat down in the compound, talking, smiling, and waiting. Mama served drinks and welcomed everyone. But as time passed, Hilda noticed something. Samuel and his people hadn't arrived. She looked at the road again and again. Nothing. Her mother came close and whispered, Hilda, where is your husband-to-be and his people? Hilda swallowed hard. Mama, he said he's coming. Maybe they're just running late. But the ceremony was supposed to start 2 hours ago, Mama said, beginning to frown. Are you sure he's coming? Hilda forced a small smile. Yes. He sent money for the food and drinks. If he wasn't coming, he wouldn't have done that. So they waited. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Still no sign of Samuel. Some of the elders began to whisper, is this another embarrassment? What is going on? Mama looked worried. She stood up and shouted, this is what I feared, Hilda. I told you not to go back to him. Some guests started complaining. We've been here for hours, one man said. No groom. No ceremony. What kind of wedding is this? To calm everyone down, Mama asked Hilda to help share the food and drinks they had already prepared. They passed plates of jollof rice, meat, and soft drinks to the people seated. Some ate quietly, others shook their heads in pity. Just as the guests were beginning to leave, a man walked up to Hilda and handed her a small white envelope. What's this? She asked. The man didn't say anything. He turned and walked away. Hilda looked at her mother, then slowly opened the paper. Her eyes scanned the words and suddenly, her hands began to shake. What is it, Hilda? Her mother asked, rushing to her side. Hilda couldn't speak. Mama took the paper and read aloud. You wouldn't have agreed to marry me if Mark wasn't mad. So this is my own way of rejecting you. I am too big to be someone's second option. As for your daughter, you can have her. I already have a daughter with someone else. I wanted a boy. I don't need you in my life anymore. I want you to feel what I felt when you canceled our wedding. Have a nice life, Hilda. Hilda gasped and fell to her knees, holding her chest. Some guests rushed to her. Others just stood still, shocked by what they heard. Her mother broke into tears. No, Samuel. Why? Why did this to my daughter? The wind blew gently through the trees, but in that compound, it felt like a storm had passed. Hilda sat on the floor of her room, her wrapper loose around her waist, tears pouring down her face. She held the letter Samuel sent, his words still fresh in her mind. She picked up her phone and tried calling him again. This number is not reachable, the voice said. She tried again and again. Nothing. She quickly took her mother's phone and dialed his number. He picked up, but the moment he heard her voice, he ended the call. Samuel. Why? Why are you doing this to me? She cried out, holding her chest. Where will I start from now? What did I do to deserve all this? Why is the world so cruel to me? She sobbed louder, but then she heard another sound. Her daughter, little Amara, was crying too. Hilda looked at her child and quickly wiped her own tears. No, my baby, don't cry. Mummy is here, she said gently, picking Amara up and rocking her in her arms. She kissed her cheeks softly. It's okay, Amara. I'm sorry. I won't cry again. You're all I have now. The next morning, the village was full of gossip. People stood in small groups at corners and talked in low tones. Did you hear what happened to Hilda? One woman whispered. Samuel left her and even said the baby is not his, that he already has a child. Another replied, I feel sorry for her, a third woman added. But not everyone showed pity. Some laughed. That's what she gets for jumping from one man to another, someone said. The news spread like fire. Even people from other villages heard about it. Hilda's mother stopped going out. She couldn't bear to hear the cruel things people said about her daughter. She would stay indoors, pretending to be busy. But many times, she cried alone in her room. She would cover her mouth with her wrapper and cry quietly, so Hilda wouldn't hear her. This is too much for my daughter, she whispered. God, please help her. But Hilda, though broken, knew she had to be strong. Amara was now 2 years old. She was growing fast, full of smiles and energy. Mama, she would say, pointing at Hilda. Yes, my baby, Hilda would reply, smiling through her pain. One evening, Hilda sat outside and watched Amara play with the ball. The sky was orange, the air calm. She looked up and whispered, maybe marriage is not for me. Maybe I've tried enough. She looked at her small shop across the street. I'll focus on my business. I'll take care of my daughter. I'll make sure we are okay, she said. The next day, she cleaned her shop, bought new goods, and started afresh. She worked hard, saved money, and expanded little by little. She bought more baby clothes, shoes, and even added food items to her business. Her customers returned. People who once laughed at her began to admire her again. She's a strong woman, they said. She's doing well despite everything.